Plus 50 episodes in, this first one with any real equipment.
I'm gonna do this real quick.
Oh yeah, do your thing, dude. Alright.
You guys are good to go.
Alright, are we recording right now?
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Yeah, we're live.
Alright, I looked over at Steve, and this is already the fattest thing I could see. He's looking at pictures of spaghetti and Parmesan like it was porn. Like you're trying to hide it a little bit.
Nah, read the meme.
When you catch him cheating. Ah!
It says when you catch him cheating, and it has, ooh, I talked really loud. Spaghetti, but they put Comet instead of Parmesan cheese.
That's murder. I think I seen that in Sixth Sense. They the same thing. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Right? That's what they did to little girl.
The guys die.
Alright, menu. Cheers.
Clanky.
And we're back, dude. Alright, Steve. How did you freaking corrupt this young man? He was so nice when you met him.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I was an angel.
How'd you guys meet? Let's set this up.
Great story, actually. This is a great way to start this. So
Wait. Let's set this up right now. First, like I said at the beginning, 50 plus episodes in, the first time we do it, any real equipment. Thank you, Brandon. We're here in freaking Brandon's soon-to-be former apartment. Brandon, how do you say your whole name? How do you say your Facebook name?
Brandon, real name.
Brandon Jor-El Egbert. There's like a different. That's not even real. I feel like you're lying to me.
No, that's my real middle name. It's actually my grandmother actually gave me that middle name. It's from it's Superman's dad's name.
What is it?
Yeah.
Oh damn! So you were just pigeonholed into this
a little bit.
This life of
He has the.
of pop culture, huh?
You got this.
I was like, don't you? I was like,
Oh,
haven't
I
you?
know, I've seen it, but I didn't know it's to that point. All right, Steve, Brandon, how'd you guys meet?
So, I'll tell the tale.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So Brandon was a tri-sport athlete. You want to say that? Played football. Played soccer.
I played soccer my sophomore
He was actually
year.
the kicker sophomore year. A black kicker.
It was junior year. It was junior year.
Junior, my bad.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No one liked me. Junior, sophomore year, no one liked me.
So why?
Basically. All the Mexicans were like, why am I not kicking? But,
Wait, Mount Miguel?
One of us.
Marvis, damn it.
Yeah. And lacrosse. The whitest sport you could play.
Oh yeah.
That sounds about right.
But, so everybody knew Brandon. I only knew him as Egbert.
Yeah.
I didn't know him. Didn't ever have class with him.
I didn't have a first name until I graduated.
Until senior year.
Real quick, my coach called me Brandon one time. We were in the ready room and we were just sitting there, and he's like, Brandon, and I'm just sitting there watching film. He's like, Brandon, and he's behind. He's calling me, but he's sitting behind, in his office, and then he comes out. He's like, Egbert. I'm like, what? He's like, I was calling you. I was like, I didn't hear you, coach. He was like, Brandon's your first name, right? I was like, oh.
Can't use my slave name, right?
Yeah, I was like, you got me, coach. I damn sure wasn't listed. Nobody calls me that.
So you guys, Monte Vista,
Right.
back in 1996.
Yeah, back in the day. Oh, my beer. Off camera.
Good job. I'll finish up the story. Don't worry. Yeah. So I had was it like British Lit or something, right? Mr. Lodico.
Oh,
What's his name? Mr. Colkin.
Mr. Colkin.
Mr. Colkin.
Film is, no, it wasn't Film is Lit.
It was
Film
British
is
Lit, right?
Yeah, it was British Lit.
And this dude is in class, right? All I heard all day was Brandon ever talking shit. Just 2 words. And
Wait,
then-
what do you guys study in British Lit? Just
I don't remember. We read and watched Beowulf. That's all I remember.
Oh, Beowulf. There you go. It's a great story.
That's all I remember of that class. And he was chill as hell, and he was a MMA fighter.
Teacher?
Yeah, he was fighting TJ.
Oh,
on the weekends.
I would beat his ass.
Probably.
You
He was in a
TJ on the
tattoos.
weekends?
Yeah,
That doesn't count.
El Professor.
Dog, alright, no joke. They have they do like cockfights, like hidden in it's like some of the junkyards out there, like dog fights, random things. At the end of the night, when everybody's drunk, they just get to a point where it's like, alright, well, what 2 guys want to fight? $100. Yes, fight to the death. Oh, I've heard stories. There's some shit. No, I hope not, but
Damn.
you never put it past them.
I got
Alright,
$100 on the dead guy.
Fuck, fool.
Yeah, someone Mexican than me.
Always put it against the odds. Never tell me the odds.
So, So we're in there, and I don't know what. I don't
11th
remember
grade?
exactly what. No, senior year.
Senior year.
I don't remember exactly what led up to it, but he was going around the classroom. He was like, always like tell people, all right, answer this, blah blah blah. And this girl Casey was in our
Oh my
class,
God, you're
and
telling
she,
me that
Yes,
story.
I am, because this is my most memorable. This is when I knew you and I met you.
This is
sounds
so
bad.
bad, Steve.
She
This
was.
is so
She was
bad.
big.
Oh man.
She was bigger.
Like that.
So she was tall too.
Oh sweet Jesus.
So
We cannot
we're
put this
sitting
on
there.
I
video.
climbed
Oh,
that
it's too
tree.
damn bad. It's too damn bad. It's already going there.
I'll climb that tree.
So
I'm gonna have to take her
you
off my
wouldn't.
friend list.
Just hide this post from her. But yeah, let's hope Andrew doesn't listen to this.
Oh my God.
So we're sitting there, and he's like, guys kept answering questions. He's like, I need a girl. He's like, Casey, you're a girl. And out of nowhere, you just
debatable.
hear Brandon barely
Damn.
in class, and everybody was like, oh shit. She went off on him. Oh, this girl's gonna beat your ass.
Did you
blah,
catch
blah,
yourself
blah.
when
And
you're
he's like,
saying it, or you're like,
yeah,
oh no,
it
I'm gonna be an
was
asshole.
not.
and say
It was
this.
legit like he was going around the. He was like every person he was asking a question. So I'm sitting there and I'm not paying attention like
Classic.
normal. Yeah,
Classic
it's,
Egbert.
it's regular not paying attention in class. I hated school. I fucking hated school. So I'm sitting there and he's like, he goes and I'm like, no. And I didn't realize like I was getting louder as I was doing it. So he goes and he's like, Casey, you're a girl, right? And I'm like, no. And everyone's like,
this fool said barely.
Oh.
You sat right behind me, dude. I remember this.
So whatever I
clearly.
said, it's like,
Oh,
barely.
and that's the story of how you guys became best friends?
No, well, I mean, we met from playing football, mostly.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh, after
But
school,
that's when I
yeah.
was-
That was your
That was-
exposure
yeah.
to
I was like, oh,
Egbert.
We were
This
playing.
is
We
Brandon
played
Egbert.
football a couple times after school. Yeah. Oh yeah, I sat right behind you. Yeah, that
I
wasn't
just
good.
hear barely that deep ass voice. I was like, oh shit. Everybody's like, Brandon, you're a dick.
Yeah.
I forgot who told you that. And
Yeah.
you're all, I don't care.
Yeah. After it happened, I was just like,
Sir
fuck
Colgan was
it,
like,
it happened.
dude, Brandon, really?
Yeah, I was
Really?
like, he was like, apologize. I was like, I'm sorry. What's
sorry,
really
Casey,
weird?
you're
Yeah.
bad.
What's really weird is that we actually after high school became really good friends.
Yeah, I don't know.
She was actually
Oh, you
she
were-
was
yeah.
actually Andrew's best friend for
Ah.
throughout high school or a good little bit, and then we became really good friends like right after that. Yeah, I ended up like talking. I ended up apologizing to her later on because I was like, I
10
legit.
years down the road.
Yeah, I legit.
Oh, my bad.
No, it was like, it wasn't too far after because I legit was like, I wasn't paying attention. That happened. Blah blah blah. Like something happened between her and me and her boyfriend, and I was just like, I'm not really in the mood to deal with all this nonsense, and I do know how to fight, and a lot of people don't know that, and I'd rather just not. So he had slapped me. I had
will
my
find you.
lacrosse
We'll
stick
kill
in
you.
my hand, and the first thing
He slapped
everyone
you?
thing everyone thought was like, oh shit, he's about to hit you
Wait,
with his
about
stick.
that?
Yeah. And I was walking through. I was right next to Mr. Wilson's class, and he had said, and I was like, and he did it. And I was just like, so a couple things could happen. I could beat his ass because I had my stick in my hand. So I stood there.
Sorry, curling.
Yeah, I stood there and I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I just walked off. I was like, not even, because it's like not even. And so I just kept going. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't know that I can fight.
Can you though?
You get a psychotic laugh you just did?
Yeah.
I just really choose not to. Like I did martial arts and shit when I was younger and whatnot, and I retain a lot of information very well.
What kind of martial arts?
I actually did jujitsu for a good couple years.
Really? I want to try that so bad.
So a lot of people are like, when they actually see me do something or whatever, they're just like, oh shit, that's right. It's like, I forgot. And I was like, yeah. And then I have like a 6 foot something wingspan.
I don't even know what that means. But
Well,
it's
how
it's
much-
from
how much of a
end to
wingspan?
tip, like 6 something, because my
I thought you
friend
just said
Jace.
6 foot, and I was like,
Yeah, no, 6 foot. Yeah,
That's
my friend Jace, he's like 7. Or no, he's 6. I think he's 6'7", and his wingspan is 7 foot. And on each of his hands, my fingers are only like 1.5 inches, 2
Can we
inches.
talk
off
about how
of
big
his.
your hands are for 1 second?
Like stupid huge. Yeah.
Alright.
Looking
Let's ask the real question.
banana fingers.
I'm not gonna ask you to put down your pants, but
Is it real? Are the myths true?
No.
Yes.
This is perfect.
Don't lie to him, Steve.
This is a perfect segue to this, dude, because the original reason why I wanted to talk to you, even before I came for the D&D, before I knew you even freaking had an audio setup, all this, is just the fact that you're like a walking anomaly. I mean, I don't know if this is me just being completely stereotypical, but for me,
Very.
but for me, knowing you initially from playing football, seeing you just freaking run your ass off, and just being a stud athlete, and then coming to know you more on a personal level. I mean, on basic level that we do know each other, but just seeing your interest in the different forms of pop culture, just freaking the Dungeons and Dragons, the Star Wars. God, I don't even know half the things you're into, but that's just not what you would see like looking at you.
No, I get a lot of
dreads,
I get a lot of that.
Yeah,
I get a lot of that since I was little. They'd be like, "Oh, you know, you're not really a black guy." No, it's funny. It's like they know my dad, and if you saw a picture of my dad, you'd be like, "Nah," but he's not my biological father. But he raised me.
Home Bills
He's
here
my dad.
last week.
Oh
right?
yeah. He was the old guy sitting in the seat. But no, yeah, he raised me, and then my brother was there too, and all that stuff. And so he not necessarily the way he grew up, but he was just like, you know, people are people, whatever.
Yeah.
And for that, that's just how we were. So a lot of the times, and a lot of people don't understand this neither. It's like I got bullied a lot.
Really?
Yeah. Just because of that. You're not black enough. I don't like basketball. I do not like basketball. They'd be like, hey, the blah 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 is playing March Madness, and I'm like,
I don't know what that means.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know, man. I got some anime to watch. Like that's it. But yeah, those were the things. I was just like, I didn't like basketball. I liked football. My dad put me in it. I ended up being okay at it, you know. But that's really it for the most part. Like, naturally, I'm good at sports. That's just a thing. I mean, but other than that, all the other interests just kind of built up over the years. My dad played D&D, and I remember when I was really little watching him play and like telling me like, no, you wouldn't understand this. But then as we got older, he had other games that were like that. There's like a game called like Hero Clicks, where it was the Marvel and DC characters. So we have like, I remember having like a little Wolverine. I think even in the little box I have with all my minis, I have a Juggernaut in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so we'd have those, and he'd teach us how to play those games. And my dad actually played like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon with us, and so I still have my Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
That's awesome.
And so unfortunately our fucking Pokemon cards got stolen when we were younger, but his Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I wish we could fucking find those. He actually had, when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, you remember Exodia? He had all 5 pieces.
Oh,
and so
damn.
those were those moments you'd be like, fuck. Like he actually played those games with us because he had played the other games like Magic the Gathering and other stuff like that. So he helped transition us into that stuff, and then we just kind of went from there. And then for me, it was just all about like anything fantasy, whatever. Anything that could just take me from whatever I was doing at that moment in just an entirely different world. I'd be there. I'd be playing with Legos for hours on end, just in my own little world forever when I was little.
Looking back on that, do you think that was a form of just escapism from like the boredom, the droll? I mean, you say you're getting bullied, or I don't know if this was even earlier than that, or if it was just like you're just naturally interested in these things.
Probably. I mean, one, I wholeheartedly feel I was naturally interested in those things. My grandparents did a good job kind of noticing the things I would do, and they'd pick up on that. So like, I liked Legos, and my grandmother already had a bunch of Legos from when my dad and his brother were young. So she had those and would bring those out every time we'd go over there, and then we'd just be messing with those for hours on end. And I mean, I could just do that, and that was just, for me, that was just fun. At that point, I don't think I was escaping anything.
Yeah.
I mean, later on, probably there was some form of like, yeah, I definitely don't want to be in this world. Like, it's like if I could hate it here.
My mind is way more fun.
Yeah, it was probably like a good, throughout high school, I wish I would have had like D&D and other shit to really focus on, because that would have helped a little more than sports, I believe, honestly. Just in the fact of what you can do with that and what sports really did. Like, it helped with anger, but at the same time it didn't. But that's like the only emotion it could help you with. There was no other thing besides like a camaraderie with you know, the guys that you play with. But other than that, it didn't really help me with like the other emotional shit that I was dealing with throughout high school that really sent me like, I really don't want to like focus on anything that's going on in the real world anymore.
Like what kind of emotional stuff? Just out of curiosity, I don't know how much you want to share at
Well,
all. But just, like,
I mean, it's not
just a
huge.
normal,
No, like my
angst,
parents,
angst.
well, not really. Like for the most part. So, like I said, when I was younger, like I was bullied. So nobody really liked me, and I never understood why. And I didn't ever understand that I did anything to like do that. And then as I got older, I understood that it was because I wasn't like that person. That the way I did things or just the way I conducted myself, they didn't like that.
Who's they?
Just the people who would like bully me or who just didn't like, who automatically assumed that I was just one way and would treat me that way. And then when I'm like, no, they'd be like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like you don't, you're not, like you're not black enough to be.
They would say that.
Yeah, you're not.
Easy,
yeah, even girls would tell me that, and so it'd be like, yeah. So people are like, oh, you know. And what's really messed up is like, black guys will get that, like, oh, why don't you like black girls? Well, for me, it was legit. They treated me like shit my entire life. they treated me like shit. So it was
I've heard that. The Lester was my favorite one. Who would tell? Oh, you guys know Lester? Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, he's like, can't mess with black girls anymore, dude. Like, they're just too crazy.
It was one of those things, like, just growing up, they just treated me like shit, and so I was just like, cool, I'm cool off of it, or whatever, and then magically I was fucking cute again, and then it was just like, oh, we won't talk, and I was like, no, because they ruined it for you. I was like, other people ruined it for you, and then all of a sudden I was an asshole throughout high school, and I was just like, I guess I'll just be that.
Did you get honeys in high school?
No. No, not really.
See,
I got fairly.
I didn't know that motherfucker.
I got fairly like lucky, but not really like honeys like that. No, not really. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people had these like weird, crazy perceptions of me, and like people I'd never even spoke to, just crazy. They'd be like, "Nah." It's like, "Oh, I heard you were a player and blah blah blah." I was like, "No, I've dated like 3 people since I've been here." They were like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, we're juniors, so that's like one person a year." And I'm like, "Yeah, oh."
Hey, that's big time in high school, man.
Oh shit. But it was like, yeah, it was just one of those fucking weird things. But it was just weird. Like I said, I was just treated really differently, and so especially with that, and like my parents going through like a really wild divorce at the same time going into high school, that was like one of those like, oh shit. Like I knew that. Like every kid goes through, like, is it my fault? Like for sure, I knew it wasn't my fault. I knew it wasn't my fault. It was just like I was the oldest, so I got told a lot of stuff that probably should have just been left out, but it wasn't. So it's just like I had to deal with a lot on each side, and so a back and forth, a heavy relationship with my dad at this point, you know, and then all of a sudden like my real dad showed back up a little bit, and it was just kind of like I had never met that guy, so I was kind of curious, and then I was like, nah, I don't want to talk to you anymore. A little later on. And then yeah, so it was just like high school was a really fucked up time for me at all. So like if you hear people say like, oh yeah, he's a fucking asshole, I hated that guy, it's like, yeah, I was a hateable guy back then. For surezies, it does check out. I was a dick. Unless like you were an actual like person or friend. Other than that, yeah, I was a dick. And I realized that a lot of the people that I hung out with were just about the same, who had issues with their fathers or something that happened, that we just ended up gravitating towards each other, and that being kind of my group of people. And even that further like ostracized me from everyone else too, because once I played soccer, it was like during soccer season you play football, and especially when you're at school, you hang out with the people you play with, because those dudes you're talking to 24/7 for you know almost 9 months of the year, all day. Right? And then you play another sport and it's the same thing, but depending, usually those guys are playing the same sport with you. You go from football to track or football to basketball, you know, whatever. For me, I went freshman year, I only played football. I played soccer my sophomore year, so when I played soccer, I was hanging out with them because I was with them all day and then all night. So, you know, I was chilling with them. So I'd become friends with a whole group of several people, and they were legit like, hey yo, that guy's cool, don't fuck with him. And I'd be out there on the fucking soccer field and yo, don't fuck with that guy. Straight the fuck up. Like people would, like, out of nowhere I had people like, hey, don't fuck with this dude. Cool. Yeah. And I mean, that was...
Wait, telling you or saying this about you?
No, saying this like, don't mess with me because he's with us type of deal.
Okay.
You remember Misker?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like the same deal. Like, he just, those were his people. So it was just kind of like one of those. So the next year when I didn't go back to soccer and I played lacrosse, it was like one of those again where it was just like, I play lacrosse and now I'm like white. It was like you're black during football season and then you're white. And then I was like, cool. But luckily the guys I hung out with during lacrosse, like those guys ended up being some of my really, really good friends I still see to this day. So it's not most of the guys I played football with I don't even see to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Actually, if not, the only one I honestly still see would be my cousin Reese, but we grew up together. Other than that, yeah, maybe only a handful of people that played football with. But like lacrosse people, I see them probably maybe a couple times a month. Fucking other people that I've even played sports with, just other shit. Like Steve and I played football after high school, and then we still hang out, you know what I mean? So it's just like, sometimes you just build better friendships. And I understand it because, like I said, it was a shitty time in my life, so...
That's how it is, dude. Freaking, man, I mean, I'm sure you guys went through the same thing. Like, some of your best friends growing up, I mean, that you spent years and days, and God knows you grew up with them, or they raised you, their families raised you. You just kind of grow apart. I mean, you get to a certain point, you realize, like, well, we don't really have that much in common, or, I mean, you get old, you have kids, you have, like, how much time you guys get to spend with your friends, really? I mean, imagine far less.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I spend a good amount of time with my friends, only because I set it up in a way where it's part of my schedule. So, I had the luxury to do that. And a lot of people don't get that luxury. And a lot of people are just like, oh, like, I mean, I wake up every day, she's at work, I have those two from whenever she leaves to work to whenever I have to take them to work, and then we get off of work, and then I'm with them until I have to do this stuff, or I'm with them until I have to, go and do whatever. So I still take care of my kids, make sure that I have ample time with them and hang out with them, and then that I still have time to kind of try and escape just a little bit so I can do this stuff, because this is a realm that I want to be relatively successful in, so I have to make the time for it at the same time. And so it's cool because my son sees me doing this, so he sees like this stuff.
That early exposure.
Yeah, he saw me earlier like checking the mics, and so he's in here tapping the mics to make sure they work. And so it's a cool thing too, to teach him that, and then to see like the other stuff I do with it as well. That he's like, oh, and like you guys saw earlier, he was playing with all the minis and whatnot. Like that's just the start to what could be.
Dude, I talk to everyone about this. Anyone who has kids, who like, how is that not terrifying? Like, you are in charge of grooming this being into I don't know, just a respectable adult. I don't know. It just seems like so much responsibility to me, and I feel like I'd screw it up immediately. So I just so like terrified, like I said, literally terrified of being a father.
Honestly,
like, is it a trip?
Do
you ever think about it? Like,
it's a super trip. Like sometimes I wake up and be like, fuck, I'm gonna charge you 2 of these things. Like, damn. And then it's just like, and then one of them wakes up and I was like, oh shit, gotta hide. Hopefully they go back to sleep.
Back to sleep. Close your eyes.
But yeah, it's a trip. I mean, but it wakes you up really quickly. It's just like, okay, yeah, this isn't a dream, and I do have to continue doing this. And so you just kind of deal with, I think the biggest thing is most new parents try to be like, am I falling behind with what I'm doing with my child? And it's a pretty common fear.
What do you mean falling behind? Like, as far as like what you're like the
as far as like what they're trying to like, as far as like what they're trying to as far as them like trying to teach trying to teach their children or what their children
Okay.
are learning, I guess. I think that's one of the biggest things, and so you try not to fall behind some magic mythical curve that everyone sets up for you, and you're just like, I hope my child's not an idiot because I was fucking stupid. And you know, it's just like, I hope to God everyone tells me like, oh my God, he's so smart, and I'm like, show me. I'm like, he does smart things all the time. I'm gonna need you to show me something new today, because at a certain point they're like parrots. And so like we're walking around the store today, and he's just like, so when he hears us and my daughter wakes up and we're like, oh hi mama, and we get her up, right? And so now he's like, oh hi mama, every time he sees her. So now that's on repeat. So we're walking around the store, he's just like, blah blah blah, hi mama. It's like, yeah, you know. So which is cool because he's like learning words. It's like, how do I continue to do that? And I guess every parent is, it's like, what information do I stuff in you that's correct, or what are you actually absorbing? And it's like they're absorbing everything, so you just kind of go with what you got, you know. That's really what it is. Both my brother and my sisters, they're very good at school. Me, on the other hand, I'm awful at school. But I feel like my brain is just set a different way.
Yeah.
If it's written in a certain way, or if it's shown me in a certain way, I got it. You know, you can teach me a certain way and tell me something, and I'll for sure get it. But I can't do traditional schooling. You have to like conform to this way of thinking about it, and once you're told like that's the only way you can do something, for me it's like, I don't believe that.
And has it always been like that? Like since you were like elementary school?
Yeah, it's like I don't believe that there's just this one way to learn how to do this, but that's what I'm stuck with. So I get stuck. Like I'd be, you know, those little star writing tests you do in like elementary school. Yeah. Like I'd leave those blank, and people would be like, what? I'd leave those blank, and then the teacher would call my mom and be like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong. An asshole. Yeah, he'd be like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong. He doesn't ever want to write on this thing, and I'm just like, I was like, maybe I don't understand the prompt. I don't know, but it just didn't make any type of sense to me until like one teacher made English just make sense, and they're just like, yeah, it's this. It's like, oh, it's just emotion on paper, and that's just how I thought of it, and then boom. But that wasn't until like 8th grade that it turned into like, oh, it's like that. And that's when I found out I also like history. So it kind of went hand in hand, because it's just so, history is very poetic if you think about it. And so you just kind of go from there. When you write about history, most people are very passionate about it. And so it's something depending on how it's written, it's something you want to read, or it's something you want to watch. And so,
God, I love history. What's your favorite like study as far as history goes? Everybody has their faves.
I love World War I.
Really?
I love the Great War.
All right.
The Great War to me,
I don't usually hear that from anyone.
For like playing games, like playing
war games.
Like playing Call of Duty, World War I, Battlefield 1 and stuff.
Medal of Honor.
Yeah, just those things. Yeah, just those. Very like, oh hey, I have a gun and it's very basic, and then here's like a gun that's not as basic, but it's ridiculously basic to the shit we have now. You know what I mean? But like, for me, it was like, oh, way back when, that shit was hard as fuck to try and kill a guy from like just 50 yards away. You know what I mean? So World War I and then the trenches, the stories about the shit that happened, exactly. You know, the inventions that happened in World War I that were sanctioned in World War II. You know what I mean? The things that happened there, that was like, you can't do that twice, man. You fucked up once, and then you do it again. God damn it. You know what I mean? So just how that led into a whole nother war, that they had to change the name of the first war to be like, that was the first one. Here's the second one. There might be a third. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just,
fingers crossed.
It came out, and so just some of the story. One of my favorite stories about World War I is that there's that during Christmas, these trenches, they had been fighting.
Ceasefire. Huh?
Yeah, it was a ceasefire, and during that ceasefire, the soldiers had gotten up out of their trenches. They hung out with enemy soldiers. They shared, they gave gifts, whatever they had. They shared photos of their families. They even played soccer and stuff like that, right? and then the next day they had to go back to killing each other.
Back in the trenches.
And that's one of my favorite stories, because like, look at just the sheer craziness of man in that moment. You could look that guy in the eye and tell him like, oh, you know, your family's beautiful, so great, blah blah blah, and then the next day you could have been that guy that shot him and then had to move forward, or, you know, been shot and had to get pulled back. That shit's crazy. And so like, just any type of history that leads up to it, I love it.
Like you said, it's very romantic. I mean, how you write history, anyone who writes history or about it. I'm reading a book on Mao right now, and I mean, it's a very biased, like, they just paint him as a complete coward, and I mean, everything very negative. I mean, for good reasons, but it's just so interesting that you do see so much of the author, the writer, in like the writing. I mean, you express this from deep emotions or thoughts or something you worked on so much. Dude, talking about war, it's just crazy how so insignificant human lives become, dude.
Yeah.
This is the quote that's always attributed to Stalin. It's just like one death is a tragedy, but a million deaths is a statistic. Something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
But it's dude, it's just, I don't think people understand the real pain or suffering that actual individuals felt and went through to like.
A nice quote that I got to go with that one, just like you said, you know, one death is a tragedy, but, you know, a million is a statistic. I was watching, did you guys ever see the show Scrubs?
That's literally the only series I've ever seen all the way through, and I will live and die on that hill.
I love Scrubs, and Dr. Cox is one of his lines, one of his quotes is, "Statistics mean nothing to the individual." We've seen smokers grow old to 100, and we've seen healthy people die young. You know what I mean? He just lists off all these things. He's like, so you've seen these things. You know these things. And statistics. And then when you really look at it, they do mean nothing to the individual, because until it's more and more and more, does it really become a percentage of, this is a tragedy, this is something that's happening, oh, this is really fucked up. And it's like, yeah, and it goes for like a lot of things that happen, that just like it is, until it's viewed, or, you know, until it's really known, it is insignificant. Not to say that it's insignificant, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things where it really means nothing to the individual. It goes on to,
it's relatively irrelevant.
Exactly.
Irrelevant. Dude, I'm gonna flip back a little bit, but just going back onto the topic of you being a father, it's like, what things do you think, I guess, that you can realize right now consciously, that either good or bad, that you took from your parents and the way you're brought up, that you either try to really instill into your method of fatherhood, or really try to avoid, like, oh, I really don't want to do this that my dad did, that my mom did?
My parents were too honest with certain things. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's not something I would hear from you.
Yeah, they're just like, they didn't, I wouldn't say they tried to like tell me everything. They didn't tell me everything, but there are certain things you get told and you're just like, I'm 12. It's like, why? And so, like, I don't want to get into some of the things that they told me. It's just like, why are you telling me this? Now I have to just go on and hope to God I forget this, you know, 7 days, 8 days later, 10 days later, shit. You know, there's still things I'm just like, God, I wish to God they wouldn't have told me this. So there's some things that's like, yeah, they're a little too honest with certain things. There are other things that I'm glad, like, they did tell me, because then I didn't feel any pressure from, like, my friends to want to do anything. Like, when it came to, like, drinking and smoking or things like that, my dad told me about those things, and then he was just like, that's what those are. So, you know, if those are things you want to do, I'd rather you wait, because you're young and it won't do you any type of benefit, and that, you know, you play sports, you don't want to destroy your body over those. And then that was it. And it was just like, okay, cool. And when I got to high school, I was like, oh shit, am I a fucking square? Because I don't drink and do all that stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't do any of that stuff until I got out of high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Same.
And
Were
a
you
lot of
ever
people-
tempted or anything, or not? You were just like, nah, it's not my thing.
Yeah, not really. No.
I always wish I had that kind of confidence. I was a sucker for peer pressure. Still am.
I just never had. I never wanted to hang out with certain people. I just was like, it just doesn't seem like a good time to me at this moment. And I was always a homebody, so I was like, I'll go home. And I was a homebody because of the way I was treated all the time. So I was just like, don't want to go and hang out, and someone called me ugly or whatever anyway, so I'm just gonna go home.
God, people are
Watch
mean
anime.
to you. Hang out with.
That's what I say. I was like, a lot of people don't know. I was like, yeah, I was treated like shit.
That's so funny. I can't imagine that.
Yeah,
You just, I mean, obviously I didn't know you in high school, but you just seemed like you're the typical type A just athlete guy. Because, I mean, you don't seem to be shy with words or anything, or speaking how you feel, or you seem to be relatively charismatic.
I kind of kept to myself in high
Really?
school a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I really didn't like stir too much of the pot or whatever I was doing. Like I played sports and then I went home. I didn't really do anything besides like what Steve was talking about that one time. Other than that,
Being an asshole.
Yeah, other than that, like I didn't do very much. Now other people might be like, yo, he asshole. Like he did this and blah blah blah. It's like could be, tell me a story, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I might verify that shit.
So why'd you even play sports then?
My dad.
Okay.
Yeah, I played sport. I mean, I played sports since I was little. My dad put me in flag football when I was younger after playing soccer, and I didn't like baseball at all. It's just like, there's no movement at all. Like, I had to move. I had to do something, and that was just not enough. And so, going on to soccer, I was like, okay, this is cool. But then realizing I'm the only one that's my color out here. But it wasn't like, but like none of them treated me differently.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I think that's what was really different. It was just like when I hung out with Mexican people or anything like that, like none of them treated me any different. No matter what. Played soccer with them when I was little. You know, I mean, like they're a whole separate species of people, right? They never ever treated me any type of like fucked up at all, which was weird. And then all the people that looked like me were just dicks all the time. But they were always like, you don't fit in with us over here. I'm just like, all right, cool. I guess I just won't fit in with y'all. But I was also, the oldest of 4 kids and didn't have an extreme amount of money, so people are bougie too.
Damn. Poor kid. Oh man.
Right? I mean,
Terrifying.
right? I was like, no, I had a house. Like, I had my own room. It wasn't like, oh my God. It was just like the way I was treated by people outside. It was just like, God, fucking awful.
That's so weird to me. Maybe I just didn't notice it. Maybe I'll speak on too. I'm trying to think of why I'm so weird. No.
It was just one of those things where it just really kept me home, so I guess it just developed into being something else. And so when I was like in 8th grade, I think that's when my parents' divorce had really started, and so that's when it had come down to me writing and starting to do writing.
God, that's a tough age, dude, because you're freaking aware of everything, huh?
Everything, yeah. That started also like my parents being like extra like, oh, we're gonna tell you things. It's just like, fuck me. And so so like my English teacher in 8th grade, one day I was in there and I was just like, put my head down, nothing. Didn't want to do nothing. And she was just like, are you alright? And I'm like, no. And so like the next day or one of the days we write in a journal or whatever, and so I wrote in the journal about my dad and some shit, and then I just closed and I put my head down or whatever, and she picked it up and she read it, and then she like patted me on the back and then just left me alone for like the entire week.
Yeah.
And then after that she just kept like not picking on me, but kept having me do things in front of class and this and that, and it just from there, and then that, and then my history class at the same time, because they were like right after one another. So I'd go from English and having like this really weird emotional moment in English class, and then go into history where I have to like have a whole entire fucking nation and these other people and somehow delegate them to be like, yo, we gotta save this shit and trade with them and do this over there.
You can model UN?
Yeah, we did that, and was really wild as I actually won mine.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Don't know how.
Athlete.
Yes, don't know how, but somehow I was just like, we had done some type of trade, and the trade really fucked them over, and they didn't realize it because the way it set up the line was like it traded through like all of our shit for something, and then in order to get back you had to like pay a whole bunch of shit to get back. It was something, and it was just
Sneaky
like
bitch.
yeah, I had somehow pulled that off, and then someone was like, yo, look, and I was like, and then I had another trade lined up for something else, and it ended up being a better trade because I got like 3 things for like 1 thing because they had nothing.
It's wild. You remember this? Like, so
Yeah.
Dude, it happened like that, and then the next day he was like, oh, it's over, you guys won, and I was like, oh shit. And it was legit because of those 2 trades that we ended up having the best running fucking economy of the whole thing. I had the least amount of fucking poor people. Like the least amount of hungry and all that stuff, because I was like, they need food, so we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna start trading over there for this shit because they have it, and we're gonna finagle whatever. Yeah, it was, I don't know how I did it, but yeah, going from that, it was like a weird like confidence booster into like my like wanting to write and do things in that realm, I guess.
What kind of things did you write? So this starting in 8th grade?
Yeah, so like at first I really didn't know what to write about, so I'd like just write fucking poems and shit like that until eventually I just figured out what I really wanted to actually write about, and then I started writing like short stories, and then...
Do you still have these?
No,
Brand new?
no. Lost. Thank God. Probably somewhere in the back of my mom's house.
I can't imagine things I wrote. All porn. All manga. Or all hentai.
And then I remember I forgot what grade it was, we had to write stories, just short stories about whatever, and I wrote one about my sister, and like it was just, my sister and I butt heads, and so I just described her as like this monster, but the way it was put inside of the story, my teacher was like, holy shit, like this is really good. And then my grandmother read it, and she was just like, it is really good, it's very well written. And then she started crying, and she was like, I can't believe you like think of your sister like this. And I was just like, oh, like it didn't really jump off the top of my head that like I was like pouring on, I was writing about my sister in this manner. And then that the first thing my grandmother, who actively reads, pulled that from the page was like, this is how you think of your sister. And so from then on it's like, oh, I gotta,
You're right.
yeah, I gotta like gotta be careful what I write here. Be careful what I show people what I write, otherwise I guess some people pick up on things that you don't. And so from there I started really thinking about, oh shit, you could really like sway people with the things you write and or say. So it just depends on how you really write it or put it down. So from then on I was a little more careful about what I wrote down and trying to like figure out how I wanted to write and build. And then I started writing a little book a while ago. I still have some of that, and that one was about my fictitious kids, but like all of us were dead essentially in like this fantasy world. And so, but it was like all of our kids had grown up together a little bit, and then we're all scattered and separated because all of us had split them up to keep them safe. And so I had like 3 or 4 chapters like in of just like this beginning of like it's my 2 kids or my kids, my cousin's kids, and then from there like gathering the other kids to fight whatever the fuck was going on.
God, I just want to get into your brain and see how that thing works, dude.
Just stupid.
Stupid. It's like a dark place.
A lot
dark,
of
dark
nonsensical shit, and then you'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
What's your education background look like, dude? Because you said you always sucked in school, but I mean, you're very well spoken. Sounds like you're well read.
Graduated high school. Yeah, that's about it. Like I said, school, just traditional schooling, just did not work for me.
Really?
Even when I went to Southwestern, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do it. There's only so many teachers who could actually teach me, and those were the teachers that I was like, I really, really suck at this, but for some reason I'm really, really good at this when you teach it to me. don't know why. That's just how it ended up being. So like I can only pass math class with like one teacher. So senior year, I actually had the hot math teacher.
Yeah.
I had the hot math teacher, and then I changed out of her class because I was like, I wish. No, I changed out of her class before we even started because I was like, she's not gonna be able to teach me.
Really?
Yeah, I told him I was like, I'm gonna be too distracted and I'm not gonna be able to teach. And so I left her class and went to his class so I could actually pass high school. Huh. It's like one responsible decision.
Yeah, I was saying to take responsibility.
And so doing that, it like changed up my entire fucking schedule. I was just like, oh, fuck it. As long as I leave this fucking place at the end of the year.
Shout out Miss Laura.
Miss Laura?
Dude, I tell you one Halloween, she was dressed up, I don't know, Catwoman, or no, she was just like a sexy cat or something.
That's just fucking.
Dude, it was like,
how dare she?
It wasn't like a sexy cat, but you know, she was dressed up for Halloween. She had some type of ears on.
She knew what she was doing.
And the fucking spandex she had on, you could see through them. So I was like, oh.
That was before leggings. So
Yeah.
We ain't never seen anything like
So
that.
I was like, so I'm like walking to class, and this was a senior or junior year, but I'm walking to class, and I was late to school, and she was walking to her class, and I was behind her. She's like, oh, yes, and then just like turned up one corner, and she went into. I was like, it's gonna be a good day.
Meant the picture.
Right.
That's sick, man.
It's really bad in high school.
Man, I'm trying to think of myself in high school. I still am, but I was so like socially anxious. Like I could never talk to people. It's just awkward. So I'm just awkward. But it's funny how you kind of, you change and you evolve. Because I never, ever would have thought in my life that I'd be doing anything like this. I joke around with people, or my wife. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm like a low-key like professional podcaster, but like I never thought I'd be talking to people just because I was so weird and awkward. Like I said, like I'm terrible with small talk. Like I can't dick around with you about just like talking nonsense. Like I like asking you questions like this, like legit like talking to you about things that I care about. I always tell everyone, it's like if I'm not interested in you in any way, then I'm not gonna have you just on this thing on the podcast or anything, just chopping about nothing. So it's like, yeah, it's like if I invite you to talk to you, it's not just like a pity invite. I mean, it's like I want to hang out and get to know who you are, dude.
I saw you doing like your podcast and stuff, and how you're doing your stuff, and it was like, okay, that's cool. Like he's doing whatever it was, and so when they had started their stuff, and then we had started doing our stuff, and so I was telling him like, oh, we're doing that, and so I asked him because I remember he had done yours, and I was like, oh, does Mondo have any fucking thing? He was like, no, we just did it off of his phone or whatever, and so I was like, all right, so let me go ahead and just hit him up and see what's up. And I was like, yo, I got equipment if you need help or anything like that or whatever. I was like, I have a bunch of shit, and so I was just like I said, I went on the internet and just went from there.
What even made you like want to do this? Like to even get him?
I think it was just part of it was from going over there to play. Big part of it was from watching other people do it, and the next part was probably going, am I confident enough in my skills to do this and listen to it, or have other people listen to it?
And your skills as
a DM, as a person who plays Dungeons and Dragons, but haven't been playing as long as a lot of people. And so it'd be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, ooh, those you don't want to hear, but at the same time, it's like you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear 100%. Those people who are just like 100%. Hardcore, like, and you're just like,
you're trash.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the only way you can do it is just do it and get better, or just do it and just quit. And so it's like, I might as well just do it and try and get better. I'm not going to stop trying to DM, because that's what I like to do. And so as far as this goes, this is fun too. So even if I record it and don't put it out, I still have recordings that I could play for my kids and listening to, like, oh, what about that one? Be like, all right, we can listen to that. And just the story of me telling, a bunch of fucking idiots to do shit things, and them telling me the shit things that they want to do. So from there, it's just like, all right, cool, let's fucking make a story.
It's beautiful, dude. Like I said, like I'm not even trying to just blow smoke up your ass or anything. Like just like the way you're presenting the game. Like I had no experience to anything or no exposure to it at all before, but just seeing that, I was like, dude, you made it feel like I wasn't even doing anything. I was just sitting there with my thumb in my ass. But it was just like I felt like I was in this world, and I was part of the game, and I was like, it was 100% you, dude, because like you lay out, you essentially create this whole world.
No, I appreciate
it.
it. And like for part of it is just, so like I haven't done it as long as other people, and there are people that are way better than I am wholeheartedly. But I guess it's just a matter of just trying to like bring as many people as I possibly can into it, so they can do something that's maybe a little bit different that they've never done, because this is something that for the first time I had never done. And then when I did it for me, it was like a tiny little bit of therapy that grew into like, holy shit, like I actually feel a lot better when I do this stuff, or when I'm doing this stuff. And then after I'm doing it, it's like, oh shit, I got to escape for a little bit and then come back, and now I can really focus on being part of the real world, and still knowing I still have this in the background, and just kind of like, yeah. So this is just one of those things that played off of the English thing of one teacher of going like, helping me with kind of going through a shit point in my life, even though it was just for that year, and then that continued on to kind of roll into this. So shout out Miss Ostrander.
I was gonna say, did you ever get a chance to have her thanks like afterwards, or I don't know?
No, actually, the last thing I heard was she was a counselor at my middle school, but then I don't know where she's at after that. Yeah, but yeah, it's funny is only one of my customers has that last name, but they don't know each other, so I'm like, it's like I fucking.
Both? Nah, I gotta drive.
I was like,
yeah, you're a better man than me. We'll wrap this up right now, just because I gotta go with the wife.
Oh yeah, I feel it.
But I'm trying to think, dude. Like, what do you? Did you ever imagine your life would be here where it is right now? Like, let's say, like, freaking 18 years old, you're graduating high school. How old are you right now? 27?
28.
28.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's perfect. 10 years back, looking back, like, did you ever imagine you'd be here?
No, 10 years back, I had...
Or what was your image?
10 years back, I had just decided that I didn't want to play football anymore. I was going to go to school for fucking computer stuff, but God, I was an idiot, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to take all these remedial classes real quick, kind of get through those, and then try and do that. And then at that point, I was just like, fuck, I hate school still, just hate it. So I was just like, I need to find something else. So I just working. Yeah, I guess I didn't really view it at this point, and especially like when I had my kids, it was weird because like my girlfriend was like, oh, I want to have kids like after I'm done with school and blah blah blah, and so it just happened to turn out that way, and it's just like, all right. I was like, it's whatever, but no, I didn't believe I'd be doing like this stuff. I guess it's just adapt to whatever you got and deal with, and then just go from there. I'm very lucky in the people that I've known, and to be where I'm at. Because like a lot of people would view it as like, oh, you could be doing a lot better. Probably could, but at the same time, it's like, if you actually look, I'm doing fairly well for having 2 children.
I mean, are you happy? At the end of the day, dude, that's the biggest thing. Are you happy?
And I think the biggest thing is just finding the things you like to do by yourself. And I know that sounds like ridiculously selfish, but I try and tell everyone's like, your kids are your life, your kids are your goals, but I don't want to live vicariously through my children. I want my children to have their own lives, and know that dad had his own life and isn't gonna leave when you're 18 or blah 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 to be like, me and your mom are getting divorced and I just married a 21-year-old. Bye. I don't want to
Daddy's turn.
Exactly. Like you guys were young. I made my life into a lifestyle that I chose, where it made it a lot easier for me to be around them at the same time, and that they were part of the decision for me to be selfish. So it's like, hey, Dad's being super selfish right now. Yeah, but he's only in the other room and he'll be back in like an hour or so. After that, he's all yours. So nothing too crazy of like a big change, but it's like, I don't mind it. I like it.
That's
It's
cool,
not,
dude.
yeah. It's especially where like now, because like we're leaving here.
Yeah.
That obviously everyone just sees a wall behind us, but like we're leaving here and moving to another place. So and it's bigger. It's got another room for the kids.
Oh, you already
and
have a
so-
spot. Oh, nice.
Yep. And so it's that's what's nice. It's like we're steadily moving forward and not
cool, dude.
backwards. So
Yeah, I mean, whenever anyone has like a side projects like this or just kind of hobbies to dig into, it's like I tell everybody about my job at work or about work. It's like I love it so much because it's always given me the ability and the finances to do everything that I want to do in my life outside of work. So whether it's football stuff, whether it's media stuff, whether it's family, God knows what, dude, like it's always I've always been blessed to be able to do that, and that's why I'm so thankful, just like the position where I'm at. But yeah, dude, at the end of the day, man, as long as you're happy, like how much do
Exactly,
you
yeah.
need, dude? How much
right.
you need?
And so my thing was, because I'm such a homebody,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to figure out and design a way to bring people to me.
There you go.
And so that was
That tracking
was
beam.
part of the D&D thing. And so it's just like, and I mean, we started playing, and I'd like go to random, just talking to people, and they'd talk about something, and be like, and then just random ass bring up D&D, and then they'd like listen to me tell them like a story, and be like, yeah, I want to fucking do that.
Yeah,
and they'd be
that's
like,
exactly
oh
what I
yeah,
felt.
come play with us next week. And they're like,
It's like
"What
a
the
gateway drug.
yeah, it was funny too, because you came one week, and then the next week someone else came. So last week someone else was here, and girlfriend's like, so are you just gonna have a guest every time you come play now? And I'm like,
pretty
as long
much.
as people want to come and watch, and I mean they're more than welcome to come and
Mind your
play.
business, Andrew.
Yeah, right. It's like, as long as people want to come do it, I'm more than willing to have them come in and jump in as a villain, jump in as a player, to be there for the game, to see what's going on. You know, I'm more than welcome to run a story one-on-one with somebody if they wanted to.
That's awesome.
For me to tell a story, that's what's fun for me. It's like, I'm gonna put you through something that you're like, oh my god, what the fuck. And so at the same time, from deriving from whatever I did there, make a random ass short story out of it too. Like, I have short stories about a lot of my characters that I wrote. One of my favorite characters is a bard, and his whole, I think I told you,
That's
like
what
his
you're
whole,
talking about.
yeah, his
Freaking,
whole backstory is like super
Succubus
fucked
mom
up.
or I don't know what it was.
His whole backstory is fucked
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
but he goes on through life like, yeah, you know what? Not everything has to be bad. So but you don't have to be good all the time either. Just release your inhibitions once in a while, and just have a good fucking time.
A little bit of coke here.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I know.
And he's like, just because I had a shitty childhood doesn't necessarily mean I have to make your life shitty. And so that's partly why he's my favorite character that I made, because he's like, I'm just here to make sure that you have a good time, and then just move about my business, because that's what makes him happy. And that's the same thing. I'm here to make sure you have a good time, and so that's just what makes me happy.
Damn. I just ended with that note right there. But I will ask one last question. I always need to get one last question then. We'll flip back to you, to fatherhood. What's one thing that you want to instill in your children, whether it's a personality trait, a mindset, characteristic, I don't know, something you just want to make sure like you pass on to them and make them aware, like, hey, this is how life is, this is how I got through things. I don't know if there's anything you think about all that you just want to make sure before you go.
I would say probably the biggest thing is find someone to talk to. Like, you could have your own personality, whatever it is, you could be whoever you are. If you don't have that person to talk to, it's hard for anybody to move forward in any scope of anything. For me, it's just like I had that teacher, you know, we may not have actually spoken, but in just that tiny little gesture of what she understood what I was feeling, and I was able to go, oh shit, and move forward. And her thing was, she was going through a divorce.
Oh.
So I'm a kid going through a divorce. She's going through a divorce.
Damn, that
So-
movie twist.
Right? And so it was just kind of like one of those things. And then from then on, it was like, okay, you know, my life's not as shitty. But then I still didn't have anybody to talk to until later on. And once I figured out, you know, that I would eventually get friends I could speak to candidly about certain things, it's like, okay, I feel much better. Like, I don't feel like I don't want to be here as much anymore. You know what I mean? Or I don't feel like I want to be in this corner. So if you could find that person to talk to, whether it is your parents. It is your best friend. It is just your friends or your brother or sister. Find them, because that's going to be that person, and hope to God they never use it against you. But you want that person to talk to, no matter who it is, because otherwise it's hard to survive anywhere. Nobody can survive alone.
Killed it. Oh, damn, this is big hands. You're getting hung, dude.